The sun had just begun to dip below the Pacific horizon, casting a golden glow over the Malibu coastline. The waves whispered secrets to the shore, and the breeze carried a soft scent of salt and champagne. Emily Carter, 27, wrapped in a silky crimson shawl, sat across from her boyfriend of 2 years, Ryan Mitchell, at a private table set up just beyond the cliff's edge. The soft glow of lanterns and the distant strum of acoustic guitar created a surreal atmosphere. It was the kind of evening she'd dreamed about. She laughed nervously as Ryan poured her another glass of wine. He looked particularly handsome tonight. Black button-down shirt, no tie, sleeves rolled to the elbow, his brown hair tousled in that purposeful way he knew she loved. She could feel something stirring beneath his polished calm, like a secret barely being held in. "You okay?" Emily asked, her hazel eyes narrowing as she swirled her wine. Ryan smiled, then rose from his chair. "Actually, I have something for you." Her heart skipped a beat. He knelt. Time slowed. Emily's breath caught in her throat as he pulled a small velvet box from his jacket pocket and opened it, revealing a glittering diamond ring set in a vintage-style gold band. The light caught the facets just right, sending flashes of brilliance across her face. "Emily Carter," Ryan began, voice trembling ever so slightly, "you are my home. Will you marry me?" She blinked. 1,000 thoughts raced through her mind, but all dissolved into a single, overwhelming yes. She launched forward, nearly knocking over the table, as she wrapped her arms around him. "Yes. Yes, Ryan, of course I will." He slipped the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. They kissed, and the world seemed to exhale. Cheers erupted from a few hidden friends and family who'd been waiting out of sight. Everything felt like a fairy tale. But somewhere deep inside her, beneath the giddiness and joy, something tugged at her consciousness. The ring. Emily looked down at it again as everyone toasted and clinked glasses around them. It was stunning, no doubt. Delicate leaf-like engravings along the band, an oval diamond flanked by tiny sapphires. It was unique. Too unique. It stirred a strange déjà vu. As the night wore on and the guests filtered out, Emily and Ryan wandered back to their rented beach house, hand in hand. He was humming. He always did that when he was proud of himself, and she was still glowing. But once they were inside and Ryan went to grab champagne from the fridge, she stood before the mirror in the bedroom, holding her hand up and staring at the ring again. She couldn't place it, but something about it didn't sit right. It wasn't the style, it was beautiful. No, it was something else. A strange familiarity. She reached for her phone, opened Instagram. She typed a name she hadn't thought of in a long time. Vanessa Brooks. Ryan's ex. Emily didn't usually cyberstalk. It wasn't her thing. But curiosity had always been a quiet passenger in her mind, especially when it came to Ryan's past. He rarely talked about Vanessa, only ever calling her a chapter 1 closed. But Emily remembered seeing a post once, maybe a year ago? A post of a hand, a ring, something about an engagement that had ended suddenly. She scrolled. Private account. Damn. But then a tagged photo. From a mutual friend. Her heart pounded as she tapped it open. There it was. A hand, adorned with a ring. A vintage band. An oval-cut diamond. Tiny sapphires on each side. No. No, it couldn't be. Could it? She zoomed in. The image was grainy but clear enough. Her ring. No. Vanessa's ring. Her throat went dry. Her palms began to sweat. Champagne. Ryan's voice floated in from the kitchen. She locked her phone and turned quickly, plastering on a smile. Sure. The rest of the night passed in a haze. She didn't mention it. How could she? What if it wasn't the same ring? What if she was overreacting? Misremembering? Jealous? Still, as Ryan snored beside her that night, she lay wide awake, hand resting over her chest. The ring felt heavier now, like it was bearing more than just promise. It was carrying a secret. The next morning, while Ryan showered, Emily held the ring close to the light and examined the inner band. There was something there, tiny, almost invisible, scratched letters. Barely legible. She squinted. VB plus RM. Her chest tightened. Vanessa Brooks plus Ryan Mitchell. A flush of cold spread through her limbs. Her mind raced with possibilities. Was this just an accident? Had he forgotten to replace the band? Or had he knowingly proposed with a ring meant for someone else? The room spun. Emily pulled the ring off slowly and placed it on the nightstand. It glimmered under the morning light, beautiful, radiant, and now tainted. "Everything okay, babe?" Ryan called out from the bathroom, voice casual, innocent. "Yeah," she replied, voice hoarse. "Just overwhelmed, I guess." She slid the ring back onto her finger before he returned, but the warmth of the moment was gone. There was something else in its place now. Doubt. And that doubt was just beginning to whisper. 2 days had passed, and Emily Carter couldn't shake the feeling that the ring on her finger didn't belong to her. It still looked beautiful. Perfect even. But every time she caught it glinting in the mirror or clinked it accidentally against a coffee mug, it sent a jolt of discomfort through her body. Ryan hadn't said anything. He was warm, loving, even overly attentive since the proposal. He kept calling her my fiancée like he couldn't get enough of the word, and planning the wedding seemed to energize him. But Emily had become hyper-aware of every expression, every sentence he said, searching for hidden meanings. She felt like she was living in a movie, unsure whether she was the star or the victim. That morning, as Ryan left for the gym, Emily sat alone at the kitchen counter with her laptop. She couldn't focus on emails or texts from friends congratulating her. Her eyes kept drifting to the ring. Enough. She opened a new tab and searched custom engagement rings, Los Angeles vintage style, hoping that maybe the design was a popular one. Maybe multiple rings looked like this. Maybe she was being paranoid. But her heart sank when she found nothing that matched exactly. Then, almost without thinking, she opened her old Gmail account, the one she barely used anymore. It was the account she'd made back in college. She remembered, vaguely, that years ago, one of her sorority sisters had sent her screenshots of gossip threads from a mutual friend's private Instagram story. Vanessa's story. She searched, Vanessa engagement ring. There it was. An email dated 14 months ago, with the subject line, "Girl, look at this drama." Emily opened the attached images. Screenshot 1. Vanessa holding up her hand, the ring sparkling on her finger. Caption, "He said forever and then ghosted me." Screenshot 2. A close-up, clearer this time. The band. The setting. The sapphires. Identical. It was the same ring. Emily felt her stomach drop. She dropped her coffee cup. It shattered on the floor, the sound splitting the silence like a gunshot. She stood frozen, staring at the shards. A swirl of emotions hit her all at once. Shock, disgust, embarrassment, rage. He proposed to me with his ex's ring. She knelt to clean up the mess with trembling hands. One sharp edge of ceramic sliced her finger. She winced, watching a drop of blood fall onto the pristine kitchen tile. Red against white. Just like her thoughts now, tainted. Later that day, as Ryan returned home sweaty and upbeat from his workout, Emily greeted him with forced calm. She noticed things she never had before. The way he avoided eye contact for a second too long when asking how her day was, how he deflected when she casually mentioned cleaning out their shared documents drawer. "Babe," she said slowly, walking into the living room, "I was thinking of having the ring resized. It's a tiny bit loose." He glanced at her, then away. "Oh, really? I thought it fit great." "No, just a little. I might stop by a jeweler this weekend." "Cool, yeah. Whatever makes you comfortable." Too fast. Too agreeable. Emily watched him closely. His posture had shifted slightly. More guarded. His hand twitched as he grabbed the remote. A thought came to her, one that made her feel sick. What if he's hiding more than just a recycled ring? That night, while Ryan was asleep, Emily slipped out of bed and tiptoed into the office nook. She opened his desk drawer. Nothing unusual, just bills, paper clips, and notebook. Then she saw a small box tucked into the back. The original ring box. Her heart pounded as she opened it. Inside was a folded note, like someone had hastily shoved it in. She opened it. It read, "Ryan, I'm returning this. Don't contact me again.
V.
Her hands shook. This wasn't just some practical reuse of a ring. This was a full-blown act of deception. He knew. He knew whose ring it was. And he gave it to Emily anyway. She stepped back, nearly stumbling over the rug. Panic rose in her throat like bile.
A sound.
A floorboard creaked. She turned nothing. Just the house settling. Or was it? She tucked the note back and returned the box exactly as she'd found it. Heart racing, she slipped back into bed and pretended to sleep. She lay there for hours, wide-eyed, thinking, why would he lie? What else is he hiding? By morning, she had decided she needed to talk to someone who knew Ryan before her. Someone who could tell her the truth. And that someone was Vanessa Brooks. Emily stared at the contact page for Vanessa Brooks for hours before finding the courage to reach out. Vanessa hadn't posted anything public on social media for nearly a year. Her Instagram was on lockdown, and her Facebook had long been deactivated. But LinkedIn gave her a clue. She worked as a marketing associate at a boutique firm in downtown Los Angeles. The next day, Emily showed up at that office building, not as herself, but as a potential client. Her palms were sweaty, and her heart thudded like a ticking time bomb. She didn't want to do this. She shouldn't have to do this. But the idea of marrying Ryan without knowing the truth terrified her even more. Inside, she spotted Vanessa immediately. Mid-20s, smartly dressed, sleek bob haircut. She looked normal, even kind. Emily hesitated for a second, then approached. "Vanessa?" she asked, voice careful. Vanessa turned. Her expression shifted from neutral to puzzled. "Hi, do I know you?" "I'm Emily. Ryan Prescott's fiancée." Silence. The color drained from Vanessa's face. Her lips parted slightly, then shut again, as if she were deciding whether to scream or laugh. "You're engaged to Ryan?" Emily nodded slowly. "I think we need to talk," Vanessa said, motioning toward a small conference room. Inside, the conversation unfolded like a slow-motion car crash. "I knew the ring was yours," Emily said quietly, holding out her hand. "I saw the pictures. Found the note." Vanessa stared at it. "I gave that back to him over a year ago. We were engaged for 6 months. He was charming at first, but then things changed." Emily leaned in. "What do you mean?" Vanessa's tone dropped, almost whispering. "He lied. About everything. His job, his past, even his family. He said he was an only child. Then I found a wedding invite address to his sister. He told me he was never married, but I found divorce papers in the garage.
Signed.
From 2 years before we met." Emily's throat tightened. "So he was divorced?" "Apparently twice," Vanessa replied bitterly. "And he gets aggressive when questioned. Subtle at first. Passive-aggressive. Controlling. But then he snapped." Emily's skin prickled. "He never got physical with you, did he?"
"No."
"But he threw things. He locked me out of our apartment once because I wouldn't tell him where I went for brunch. I left the next day." Emily's hands trembled. "And the ring. He showed up at my work 2 days later, begging. I told him to leave me alone. That note was the last thing I gave him." The room felt like it had no air left. Vanessa placed a hand on Emily's. "If he did it to me, he could do it again. Please be careful." Emily left in a daze, her mind spinning. Back home, the silence in the apartment felt louder than ever. Ryan was still at work. She had time. She dug deeper. She opened Ryan's laptop. The password was easy, her name and their anniversary date. Classic. Stupid. Her eyes scanned through folders, emails, saved documents. And then she found a file labeled V. Inside were photos, Vanessa at the beach, Vanessa laughing, selfies they'd taken together. Why was he still keeping these? One photo made her freeze. Vanessa asleep, lying on a couch, wearing the ring. Why did he still have this? Emily copied the folder to her USB drive. She closed the laptop, wiped down the keyboard like it was evidence. Because maybe it was. She needed to confront him. She needed answers. When Ryan got home, she waited for the perfect moment. They were eating dinner, chicken parmesan and red wine. His favorite. Emily looked at him, her voice calm but cold. Why didn't you tell me the ring was Vanessa's? He stopped chewing. Blinked. What? The engagement ring. It's hers. I know. Ryan swallowed hard. Emily, I can explain. Can you? I panicked. I was going to get you something new, I swear. But it was sentimental. I didn't think it mattered. You lied to me, she whispered. I didn't lie. I just didn't tell you. Emily's voice cracked. That is a lie. He stood up suddenly, knocking his chair back. Why were you digging around in my stuff? Because I had to. You weren't going to tell me the truth. His expression darkened. So you snooped, and then went behind my back to her. She flinched. You think you know everything now, he barked. You think I'm the bad guy because I reused a ring? Emily stood too.
No, Ryan.
You're the bad guy because you used me. And her. And God knows who else. His fists clenched. He looked like he wanted to say something cruel. But then he stormed out, slamming the door behind him. The sound echoed through the apartment like a gunshot. She didn't sleep that night. Just lay on the couch, clutching her phone, heart racing at every sound from the hallway. Sometime after midnight, a notification buzzed. From an unknown number. You shouldn't have talked to her. He doesn't like being exposed. Emily stared at the message on her phone, her hands shaking. You shouldn't have talked to her. He doesn't like being exposed. There was no name. Just those words. No punctuation. No emoji. No trace. She dialed the number. Straight to voicemail. She checked the locks.
Twice.
Every room. Closet. Under the bed. Nothing. But her gut screamed. Someone had been here. Someone was watching. At 2:37 a.m., her apartment buzzer rang. Once. Then silence. Emily didn't move. She held her breath like the air itself could betray her. And then her phone buzzed again. Open the door, Em. We need to talk.
Ryan.
Her blood turned to ice.
She didn't respond.
Didn't move. She watched through the peephole. He was just standing there. No expression. No emotion. Just waiting. He buzzed again. Emily.
Please.
Let me explain. She backed away from the door, grabbing her phone and her purse. If he got in, if he pushed his way in like Vanessa had warned, she needed to be gone. She texted her friend Megan. 911. Ryan's at my door. Not leaving. I'm scared. Within seconds, Megan replied. Stay calm. I'm calling the cops now. Don't open it. The buzzing stopped. Emily crept to the bedroom window. A shadow moved away from her door. She saw him disappear down the hallway, slowly, as if he knew this wasn't over. Because it wasn't. The next morning, she filed a police report. And then, she returned to Vanessa. Together, they went to a lawyer. I think this goes beyond one bad breakup, Vanessa said to the attorney. We think there's a pattern. Manipulation. Psychological abuse. Maybe more. Emily handed over the folder of files she'd copied from Ryan's laptop. The lawyer promised to look into it, but warned them both. Until there was hard evidence, everything stayed in the realm of accusation. But Emily didn't need more evidence. She already knew she'd been played. And still, something felt unfinished.
Wrong.
Like there was another layer, deeper, darker. She just didn't know what. Later that week, Emily decided to return the ring. Closure. She didn't want it. Didn't want the memories, the lies, the weight of everything it stood for. She texted Ryan. Meet me at the park.
Tomorrow.
Noon. I'll bring the ring. He replied in seconds. I'll be there. I want to make this right. The park was mostly empty when she arrived. Autumn leaves scattered the path. The air was sharp, almost brittle. She saw him sitting on a bench near the lake.
Calm.
Controlled. Like none of this had happened. As she approached, Ryan stood. Emily. She held up her hand. No speeches. Just take it. She pulled the ring from her coat pocket and placed it in his palm. Ryan closed his fingers around it slowly, then looked up, his voice low. You really think I meant to hurt you? Yes, she replied, steady. I think you did it on purpose. And I think you've done it before. His jaw twitched. You talked to Vanessa. You probably think she's some kind of saint. She's not the one sending threats in the middle of the night. His eyes darkened. I didn't send anything. She stepped back slightly. You always make it someone else's fault, don't you? I loved you, he hissed, stepping forward. You don't walk away from that. Not after everything. You don't get to decide what I walk away from, she snapped. You're making a mistake. Emily's phone buzzed. Megan's name flashed on screen. She answered immediately. Hey, just checking, everything good? Megan asked. Emily kept her eyes locked on Ryan.
Yeah.
We're just wrapping up. He heard it.
The shift.
The warning. He stepped back. Emily didn't say another word. She turned and walked away. But before she could take more than 5 steps, Ryan called after her. You know it wasn't just you, right? She froze. I wasn't going to propose.
Not to you.
Not that day. Emily turned slowly. What? Ryan smirked, bitter and twisted. I had a plan. Someone else. But she said no. So you were next. Silence. Emily felt like the ground had dropped out beneath her. And the ring? She asked, her voice shaking. Didn't even bother to clean it, he said. Didn't think you'd notice. Guess I underestimated you. A long silence stretched between them. Emily walked back toward him. Stood just inches away. Then, without blinking, she said, and you underestimated how far I'd go once I found out. Ryan's smirk faltered. Stay away from me, she whispered. Stay away, or I swear to God. I'll make sure everyone sees who you really are. He opened his mouth to respond, but something in her eyes stopped him. She turned and walked away for the last time. That night, Emily slept with her bedroom door locked, a bat beside her bed, and Megan's number on speed dial. But she didn't cry. She felt something else. A cold, strange calm, like the silence after a storm. But also the kind that comes right before something worse. Because deep down, she knew this wasn't over. 2 weeks later, Emily still hadn't returned the texts. Not from Ryan. Not from his friends. Not even from his mother, who'd left a voicemail sobbing about how Ryan wasn't that kind of person. Emily had stopped trying to explain. She'd stopped defending her decision. She wasn't looking for validation anymore. She was looking for peace. And for once, she felt like she was getting close. But healing didn't come in a straight line. It arrived in fragments, awkward, shaky moments of strength, broken up by dreams that still left her waking up at 3:11 a.m., drenched in sweat, heart racing. She no longer jumped at every sound. But she still checked the locks. She still scanned her surroundings. She still remembered. The lawyer had called her a few days ago. We're building a case, he said. Vanessa's not the only one. Emily wasn't surprised. But she was relieved. The detective assigned to her report had followed up with additional questions. They traced the threatening message to a burner number registered under a fake name, common in psychological harassment cases. Not enough for charges, but enough for suspicion. And enough to give Emily closure, even if the system wouldn't. By the end of October, she had moved out of her apartment. Too many memories. She found a small duplex across town, near a bookstore and a yoga studio. It was cozy, sunlit, and quiet. Megan helped her paint the walls a soft beige and hang fairy lights along the ceiling. It felt safe. Like her. The first night in the new place, she slept without waking once. It didn't erase everything, but it felt like a beginning. One afternoon, as she was unpacking the last box, she found something strange, an envelope tucked behind a stack of books. Her name was written on it. No return address. She didn't recognize the handwriting. With trembling fingers, she opened it. Inside was a single photo. It was blurry, black and white. It showed her standing outside her old apartment, alone, looking down at her phone. The date scrawled on the back, October 2nd. Her breath caught. That was the day before she confronted Ryan. She turned the photo over again, heart pounding. There was no message, no threat, just proof. Someone had been watching her. Even now, even here. She stood frozen in her kitchen, envelope in hand, staring at the wall for what felt like hours. Then, slowly, she picked up her phone and called the detective. "I got something," she said, her voice low. "I think you're going to want to see this." The next day, she met the detective at the station. Photo in hand, his brows furrowed as he examined it. "This wasn't in your mailbox?" he asked.
No.
"In a box.
Hidden.
I just moved. No one should know where I live yet." His face went cold. "We'll run it for prints," he said. "But it might take time." Emily nodded. "I don't need to wait," she said. "I just wanted someone to know. In case something happens." The detective's gaze softened. "You did the right thing." That night, back home, Emily lit a candle. Not for fear, but for clarity. She sat in silence, watching the flame dance, her fingers tracing the rim of a teacup. Then she reached for her journal. She wrote, "I didn't lose myself. He just never saw me clearly enough to understand what I'm capable of." Then she closed the book, put out the flame, and crawled into bed. But just before drifting off, her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. No words, just a picture. Another photo of her. This one outside her new place. Same angle, same distance, same silence. And underneath it, just 3 words. "You were right.